Baton Rouge today, the Central Louisiana Regional Chamber of Commerce's Sin-Law Day at the legislature. Melina Noakes was there and has more.
Sin-Law Day here at the Capitol is an annual event that allows business and industry leaders the opportunity to meet with local lawmakers and the governor to discuss the big issues being addressed during the legislative session and how those lawmakers are representing the area's interests. Now, the biggest topic of today's meeting was economic development, and more specifically, economic development in the healthcare industry.
We put in our capital outlay bill yesterday. Your money is in the bill. Really?
That comment from Governor Bel Edwards directed at LSUA Chancellor Dr. Paul Carell. And that money in the bill, funding for a new downtown Alexandria LSUA healthcare instructional facility.
If I could have done a backflip, I would have done it. The governor supporting it is really a fantastic step in the right direction for our project.
In Central Louisiana alone, there are about 600 vacancies for registered nurses and 200 vacancies for allied health positions. As an area with two major hospitals, Rapides Regional and Cabrini, leaders have been putting their heads together to figure out how to address the shortages.
Whatever we can do through LSUA or the other colleges, Northwesterns, is really critical for us to be able to provide the providers that we need, the RNs, the ancillary staff, respiratory therapists, lab technicians. All those things are needed in healthcare.
The 5,500 square foot facility would be built off of the current downtown location, and it would double the university's current program of nurses. But it will come at a cost, $35 million in capital outlay, in fact. The city of Alexandria has already contributed $3 million in funds for a total of $5.5 million in private investment. Dr. Paul Carell describes the potential investment as bringing in an industry that's already there. But even with the governor's support, there's still a chance that funding might not come to fruition. The pesky spending cap issue is again coming into play. More on that tonight at 6. For News Channel 5, I'm Melina Noakes.